welcome to your custom deep dive. I want you to picture a football match where the defining moment isn't, a brilliant volley from outside the box or some devastating slide tackle.
Right. It's a microscopic blip on a computer screen.
Exactly.
Well,
You are sitting in the stands at Toronto Stadium. It is July 2nd, 2026. The sweltering summer heat is finally giving way to a cool evening breeze coming off Lake Ontario.
yeah, you can really feel the tension.
You definitely can. You're looking down at the pitch, about to witness the round of 32 at the FIFA World Cup. Portugal versus Croatia. Do or die.
I mean, the loser is on a flight home tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
You have these two European heavyweights stepping onto the grass, carrying the expectations of millions, and knowing full well there is just zero margin for error in a knockout scenario.
Right, and our mission for this deep dive is to drop you right into the center of that pressure cooker. We pulled together a massive stack of sources to reconstruct a match that had, well, absolutely everything.
It really did.
We are looking at on-the-ground match reports from The Guardian and Sky Sports. We've got granular player ratings from Sports Dunya, some breaking news analysis from the Times of India, and the emotional post-match reactions captured by the Bangladesh Sangbad Sangsta.
Plus, we're pulling back the curtain on the global broadcast operation that Reuters detailed, alongside commentary insights from Fox's Derek Ray and Rob Green.
Yeah. The goal is to synthesize all of this and show you how a single game of soccer became the defining moment of the 2026 tournament.
Because when you look closely at what unfolded in Toronto, you realize this wasn't just a traditional football match. It was a collision of three massive forces, really.
Okay, what were they?
Well, first you had a twilight showdown between two 40-plus legends of the game. Then you had incredibly high-stakes tactical gambles by both managers that completely altered the geometry of the pitch. And ultimately you had this unprecedented technological intervention that fundamentally changed the course of World Cup history.
Okay, let's unpack this. Let's start with that first force, the human element, because, you can't talk about the tactics without understanding the emotional gravity hanging over the stadium.
Oh, absolutely not.
The media narrative leading up to kickoff was entirely dominated by two names. Two guys who, frankly, most people assumed would be enjoying retirement by now. But instead, they're wearing the captain's armbands on the biggest stage in global sports.
Yeah, we are talking about Cristiano Ronaldo at 41 years old and Luka Modrić, who just hit 40. Both are just defying every known law of athletic longevity.
The history between them is cinematic, honestly. They aren't merely rivals. They are former teammates who spent 6 prime seasons together at Real Madrid.
4 Champions League titles side by side.
Right. They know each other's tendencies, their frustrations, their tells, and the entire world was billing this round of 32 clash as their definitive last dance.
Carrying that kind of narrative weight into a knockout game is just an immense burden. And, both players had shown flashes of their age during the group stages, as the sources pointed out.
Yeah, they did look a bit tired sometimes.
But the fascinating piece of this match was how Modrić, despite being the oldest midfielder on the pitch, completely dictated the tempo of the game.
This is what I really want to understand. How does a 40-year-old physically survive, let alone dominate, a midfield packed with 20-something athletes who are in the absolute peak of their physical prime?
Well, he doesn't do it with his legs. He does it by processing the field faster than anyone else. After the match, Portugal's coach, Roberto Martinez, was actually incredibly candid about this.
What did he say?
He specifically highlighted Modric's in-match thinking. Martinez noted that it's rare to find a player who can put his foot on the ball, pause, and make the perfect decision amidst total chaos. He said Modrić is the beautiful example of that, praising him for playing the game like a young man.
But what does that actually look like in practice? When we say in-match thinking, it sounds a bit, vague.
It comes down to manipulating space before he even touches the ball. Modrić is constantly scanning over his shoulders, taking mental photographs of where every player is positioned.
Just constantly updating the map.
Right. So he'll take 2 steps to his left, deliberately drawing a young Portuguese defender out of position, simply to open a passing lane to his right that didn't even exist 2 seconds earlier.
Wow.
It's like he creates optical illusions on the pitch. He knows he can't outrun a 22-year-old, so he makes the 22-year-old run to the wrong place.
That mental mastery is incredible, especially considering this was marking his 200th international appearance. But setting the tactical flow of the actual game next to that mental picture paints a slightly different reality, at least early on.
Yeah, it was a rough start for Croatia.
Because in the first half, it didn't look like Modric's spatial illusions were enough. According to The Guardian's match report, Portugal was absolutely suffocating Croatia. Pedro Neto was a menace on the wing.
He really was.
He was constantly isolating Ivan Perisic, beating him one-on-one, and whipping these incredibly dangerous crosses into the box.
And the statistics back that up completely. Portugal held 57% of the possession and kept Croatia entirely on the back foot.
They were just relentless.
Yeah, Bruno Fernandes had a vicious early low effort that Dominik Livakovic barely saved. Renato Veiga had a free header that narrowly missed the crossbar. Meanwhile, Croatia's starting striker, the towering Ante Budimir, was essentially being erased from the game.
Right, just constantly wrestled to the ground by Portugal center back Ruben Dias. Wait, so when a team is absorbing that much pressure, is that a deliberate rope-a-dope strategy? Like, are they just leaning on the ropes, letting Portugal punch themselves out, or are they just getting genuinely battered out there?
Oh, they were genuinely struggling to find an outlet. I mean, absorbing pressure only works if you can counterattack when the opponent overcommits.
Which they weren't doing.
Right. Croatia couldn't do that because Budimir wasn't winning the physical battles up top to hold the ball up. So right at halftime, Croatia's coach, Zlatko Dalic, recognizes the system is failing.
So what does he do?
He makes a crucial move. He pulls Budimir off the pitch and sends on Igor Matanovic, who is a younger, highly dynamic forward.
So Dalic flips the script with younger legs, and suddenly the entire geometry of the game changes. And just 8 minutes into the second half, the payoff happens.
It was immediate.
Joseph Stanisic whips a cross in from the right flank. And who is waiting at the back post to control it on the turn and fire it past Portugal's keeper? Ivan Perisic in the 53rd minute. Croatia takes a 1-0 lead.
The mechanism of that goal traces directly back to the substitution. Matanovic's movement forced Portugal's center backs to drop just a few yards deeper.
Opening up the space.
Exactly. It created the exact pocket of space Perisic needed at the back post. It really highlights the defining tension of this match. You have Ronaldo and Modrić providing the emotional core and leadership, but modern World Cup football requires relentless physical intensity and tactical flexibility.
So the veterans set the table, but the tactical adjustments and the younger legs decided the meal.
That's a great way to put it.
Well, that puts Portugal in a terrifying position. They are down 1-0 in a knockout game. You could feel the panic starting to set in across the stadium. But then, in the 68th minute, they get a massive lifeline. The referee is directed to the VAR monitor.
Right, so the video assistant referee spots an infraction that the naked eye just completely missed in real time. During a cross into the box, Croatia's Nikola Vlasic wraps his arm around Portugal's Rafael Leao, impeding his movement.
And the referee points to the spot, penalty for Portugal. And there is zero debate about who is taking that shot. Cristiano Ronaldo steps up. He's 41.
The pressure there is just unimaginable.
The weight of an entire nation, and potentially the final moment of his World Cup career, is resting on a single kick. He slots it straight down the middle, completely freezing the keeper, and hits his trademark celebration. The stadium absolutely erupts. We are tied 1-1.
It is a profound display of handling pressure. However, what happens shortly after that equalizer really forces us to look at how a manager handles a living legend.
What do you mean?
Well, after tying the game, Portugal actually loses their grip on the midfield. Mateo Kovacic starts firing off dangerous shots. Matanovic is testing the Portuguese keeper. Croatia is finding massive pockets of space on the counterattack.
Yeah, they were looking really dangerous again.
So in the 81st minute, Roberto Martinez does something that shocked the football world. He substitutes Cristiano Ronaldo.
Hold on. Let's pause right here. You are down to the wire in a knockout game. It's tied 1-1. This could easily go to extra time, or even worse, a penalty shootout. And you take the greatest goal scorer in the history of the sport off the pitch.
It sounds crazy, I know.
That doesn't sound like a stroke of tactical genius. That sounds like managerial suicide. If Portugal loses, Martinez is the guy who benched Ronaldo.
Oh, it is a colossal career-defining risk. But if you look at the tactical board, Martinez saw that Croatia was exploiting the transition state.
The transition state.
Yeah, whenever Portugal lost the ball, their attackers were too far up the pitch, leaving these huge, gaping holes in the midfield for Modrić and Kovacic to run through. By bringing on a defensive midfielder, Ruben Neves, to replace Ronaldo, Martinez is actively plugging those holes.
He's sacrificing his ultimate goal-scoring threat to stop the bleeding.
Exactly.
Okay, but how do they score without him?
By changing the offensive focal point entirely. With Ronaldo in the box, Portugal's instinct was to constantly cross the ball through the air, hoping he'd win a header.
Right, feed the big guy.
Taking him off forced the team to keep the ball on the ground and funnel the offense through their most dynamic, explosive player on the wings, Rafael Leão.
And Leo was having the game of his life. Sports Dunya gave him a 7.5 out of 10 and named him man of the match.
Because isolating Leo one-on-one became the new win condition. And Martinez's massive gamble pays out in the absolute dying seconds of regular time.
We hit the 94th minute. Stoppage time is almost up. Leo gets the ball on the left side. With the middle no longer congested, he has the space to drive forward and deliver a pinpoint cross.
And waiting in the box is Gonçalo Ramos, the 25-year-old striker from Paris Saint-Germain, who really built a reputation as a super sub.
Ramos meets the cross, heads it home, 2-1 Portugal. Ramos is buried under a mountain of his teammates. Rafael Leão literally drops to his knees on the grass in sheer relief. You look at that and think, well, there it is, the ultimate dramatic comeback. Roll the credits.
I mean, in any previous era of football, that would have been the dramatic conclusion, but this is 2026.
Right, which brings us to the most chaotic sequence of the tournament. We push deep into extra time. It's the 103rd minute. Croatia is desperate, throwing every single player forward into the Portuguese penalty box.
Just throwing the kitchen sink at them.
A cross comes flying in. It deflects off Portugal's Renato Veiga. The ball drops to Croatia's Mario Pasalic, who fumbles the control, but it bounces perfectly into the path of Josko Gvardiol. He taps it into the net.
Pure pandemonium. The Croatian fans are in hysterics. The players are piling on top of each other. The stadium is bracing for another 30 minutes of extra time.
But the referee puts his finger to his earpiece. The celebrations just freeze. A VAR check is underway. After an agonizing wait, the referee signals that the goal is disallowed. The stadium falls into utter shock. The ruling is that Mario Pasalic was offside.
Yeah.
I remember watching this and thinking, wait a minute. If the ball deflected off a Portuguese player, Renato Veiga, how could the Croatian attacker be offside?
This is where we have to dive into the exact mechanics of the technology, because what happened next is mind-bending.
Late on me.
To the naked eye, to the stadium crowd, and even on standard broadcast replays, it looked like the ball traveled directly from the Portuguese defender to Pasalic. If that were true, there is no offside.
Right, because it came from the opponent.
But VAR determined that in the fraction of a second between those two events, Croatia's Igor Matanović, the substitute from halftime, made a microscopic touch on the ball.
Microscopic. How on earth do you definitively prove a microscopic touch in a stadium holding 45,000 screaming people?
You prove it from the inside out. The official match ball for the 2026 tournament, the Adidas Trianda, houses something called connected ball technology.
I read about this.
It's not just a buzzword. Suspended in the exact center of the ball is a sensor powered by an inertial measurement unit, or IMU.
Okay, so it's essentially measuring movement, but on what scale? Like, how sensitive is it?
On an unimaginably granular scale, this IMU contains microscopic accelerometers and gyroscopes. It is taking movement and spatial data readings 500 times every single second.
500 times a second. Okay, so it's less like a seismograph measuring massive earthquakes and more like the accelerometer inside your smartphone that knows exactly when you tilt your screen, except hypercharged to detect a vibration lasting 1,000th of a second.
That is the perfect way to visualize it. Even if a player's boot grazes the ball by a millimeter, the sensor registers a microscopic deceleration. It detects the physical impact instantly.
Unbelievable.
And what FIFA Media later shared on X was the visual translation of that data. They broadcasted it to the global audience as a heartbeat graphic.
Oh, I saw that graphic. It literally looks like an EKG line reading a patient's heartbeat on a medical monitor. And right at the exact moment the ball flies past Matanovic's leg, there is this tiny, undeniable spike on the line.
Right. That spike was the digital fingerprint of Matanovic's touch. Because his boot brushed the ball, he was legally the player who played the ball forward. And at the precise millisecond of that touch, Pasalic was standing a few inches offside.
So the goal is gone.
Therefore, the goal is disallowed. The censor enforced the offside rule with absolute physical perfection.
The reaction to this was explosive. The Times of India reported that Croatian fans in the stands were so furious they started hurling plastic bottles onto the pitch. After the match, the Croatian coach, Zlatko Dalic, was visibly emotional. He looked into the cameras and flat out stated that VAR is taking joy from football.
Which forces a massive philosophical debate about the nature of sports in the 21st century.
So what does this all mean for you as a fan? We see this tension everywhere now, right? We optimize our sleep with smart rings. We optimize our diets with apps. We let algorithms dictate our commutes to save 3 minutes.
Data is everywhere.
Data sanitizes our daily lives. But sports are supposed to be the last refuge of raw, unoptimized emotion. When you score a last-second equalizer, the stadium exploding in joy is the entire reason we watch. Having that euphoria retroactively ripped away 3 minutes later by a digital heartbeat monitor feels incredibly clinical. Are we sacrificing the raw joy of the sport on the altar of perfect data?
Look, you deeply feel Dalek's heartbreak, and that perspective is completely valid. The emotional flow is undeniably disrupted. But let's look at the other side of the coin. The technology did exactly what it was engineered to do.
Eradicate human error.
Exactly. It eradicated human error. If Matanovic touched the ball, Pasalic was offside. Full stop.
Yeah.
If that goal had been allowed to stand, Portugal would have been robbed of a World Cup quarterfinal spot by a referee failing to see a touch that was physically impossible for a human eye to track.
And the sheer scale of the operation around these matches makes guesswork impossible to justify anymore, right?
Oh, absolutely. Look at the Reuters report on the global broadcast infrastructure for this tournament. They deployed 2,600 journalists across 200 locations.
2,600, that's insane.
Yeah, and they are using advanced metadata, meaning they are tracking the exact X and Y coordinates of every player on the pitch in real time and feeding that into AI-ready systems to instantly generate interactive graphics for billions of viewers.
The stakes are just too high.
World Cup football is a multi-billion-dollar industrial operation. When the technology exists to get the call 100% right, how can a governing body defend getting it wrong just to preserve spontaneity? We are living in an era where the friction between cold, hard data and human fallibility is a permanent fixture of the sport.
It's a fascinating tension. Yet, despite all the high-tech drama, the disallowed goals, and the heartbeat sensors, what strikes me most is what happened when the final whistle actually blew. The game ends. Portugal wins 2-1. And instantly, the focus of the entire stadium snapped right back to the human element.
Yeah, all the technology just fades into the background, and we are left watching the men on the grass.
We didn't see players crowded around a monitor screaming at a heartbeat graphic. The Bangladesh Sangbad thanks the report detailed this incredibly poignant scene. In the middle of the pitch, you had 41-year-old Cristiano Ronaldo and 40-year-old Luka Modrić finding each other.
Just a quiet moment amidst the chaos.
They shared a long, quiet, meaningful exchange. Two men who conquered European football together in Madrid, realizing this was almost certainly the last time they would ever share a pitch at a World Cup.
Zlatko Dalic summarized that moment with profound sorrow during his press conference. He said this was probably his last World Cup, and I'm sorry that it ended this way. But he made sure to emphasize that Modrić showed his absolute quality and character, captaining Croatia with dignity to the very final second.
Roberto Martinez had a quote that really resonated with me as well. He said, Modric's example is going to stay in the folklore of football forever.
Folklore. It's the perfect word choice. Folklore isn't about metadata or microscopic sensor readings.
Like no one tells stories about an IMU sensor.
Exactly. It's about stories passed down through generations. It's about human deeds, character, and resilience.
Which leaves us with a fascinating reality to chew on as we wrap up this deep dive. We started this journey looking at a match defined by aging legends relying on their instincts, manipulating space, and using their tactical brains to outsmart younger opponents.
And we ended it looking at a match decided by an IMU sensor hidden inside a ball.
Picking up a touch so light that no human being could have ever perceived it.
It is the beautiful game, caught squarely in the middle of two eras.
We've seen that technology can now measure a physical impact so slight the human eye is blind to it, translating it into a heartbeat on the screen to enforce the rules perfectly. But it makes you wonder, if sensors and AI can perfectly referee the microscopic details, how long until the human referee is entirely replaced by an algorithm? And if that happens, will we finally have the perfect game, or will we have optimized away the very soul of the sport that makes us care in the first place?